we have this really odd situation. The Sandinistas came to power by destroying the old Somoza dynasty, which was one family that insisted on ruling for decade after decade. And now, what do we have in Nicaragua but Back to the Future? We've got another family dictatorship, completely non-ideological, dedicated only to its own personal preservation, which is not only dedicated to remaining in office not only until the president dies, but afterwards, but has also sought to consolidate itself with acts of breathtaking violence. There were protests in Nicaragua in 2018. More than 300 people were shot dead by police and thugs wearing ski masks working for Daniel Ortega. It was the bloodiest outburst of state repression in Latin America in the whole 21st century. So those of us who lived in Nicaragua, who even knew Daniel Ortega, who had great hopes for Nicaragua, are in real shock now. We can't believe this happened. How can it be that all the best people in Nicaragua are in jail and this thug and his wife have taken over the country without any real prospect of escape? So we sit in this very sobering situation where a country that we love has fallen under a horribly repressive regime that is certainly the most brutal now ruling anywhere in Latin America. How did this happen? We're still trying to process. Nicaraguans today agree that violent revolution is a terrible idea. They know because they did it themselves. When you violently overthrow a government, the government comes into the hands of people who believe in violence because that's how they came to power. And that leads to the kinds of troubles that Nicaragua is in now. So if there's one thing that unites all the disparate parts of the Nicaraguan opposition now, it's the conviction that rebelling with weapons is not an option. That's only going to produce another piece of the same cycle. So we have to find some other way. We're not going to rebel with arms. We need to produce a movement that is a generator of leaders who believe in civic action and political action, not violent action. How do you do that? How do you overthrow, undermine, subvert, or depose a regime that rules by brutal force if you yourself refuse to use force? This is the challenge that Nicaraguans are facing now, and it's really a big one. These sanctions actually have no practical negative effect on Ortega and his clique, and may ultimately wind up impoverishing Nicaraguans. So unless there's a more global strategy, I don't see this as working. It's distressing for me to see people feeling that they have to support this brutal regime because they've bought some of its superficial propaganda. I get it. I understand it. Several hundred of the leftist supporters of the Sandinistas published a very anguished letter recently about why they're opposed to Ortega. And it's clear in the letter, it took them a lot to get to that point because they understand the roots of the Sandinista revolution. But this government has pulled that tree up by the roots. And there's nothing left of Sandinista idealism and ambition in the Ortega regime. So despite the unpleasant company one finds oneself in being critical of Ortega, I think that's still the moral and politically reasonable position.